Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my 5-star book recommendation video. Now, first of all, before I get into things, I want to explain that I've read about 70 books this year and I have a bunch more 5-star ratings than just the ones I'm going to talk about, but these are kind of like 5 stars and beyond books. The books that I think are better than 5 stars almost, if that makes sense. If you want to check out my actual ratings on books and more like 5-star books that are just 5 stars, you can check out my Goodreads. It's just at Kaylee Klein at my name. I'll also link it in the description below, and also make sure to follow me on TikTok where I post regular book content, whereas here I only post once a week. So let's get into my 5-star book recommendations. Okay, I kind of have this sorted into piles, so bear with me. So first I'm going to start with standalones, and I'm not going to give like too in-depth summaries. I have quite a few, so I'm just going to go through them kind of quickly. So the first one is The Marrow Thieves. This book, let me tell you, I read it in 12th grade English class and I have reread it since. It's only about 200 pages, so it is a very quick, easy read, but it's amazing. It's basically kind of a dystopian. Let me just read you what it's about. So it says, in a world nearly destroyed by global warming, the indigenous people of North America are being hunted for their bone marrow, which carries the key to recovering something the rest of the population has lost: the ability to dream. Frenchie and his companions, struggling to survive, don't know yet that one of them holds the secret to defeating the Marrow Thieves. This book is kind of like the Hunger Games mixed with the Fifth Wave, and it's like, it's set in Canada, represent indigenous representation. This book is literally like 5 and above. It is pure genius, and it's such an easy read too. Like, I can't recommend it enough. The next book we have, I read I think in May of this year, and it's I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica L. Sanchez. And I got this book by random. I don't even remember why I picked it up. It's basically about this girl named Julia, and her sister Olga passes away, and Julia's not like the perfect Mexican daughter that her parents wished for. Olga was the perfect one. So Julia kind of has to follow in her sister's footsteps and be the perfect daughter, where she's not. She sneaks out, she wants to be with boys, she wants to live her life, she doesn't want to do exactly what her parents want. However, Julia finds out some secrets about Olga after she passes away that kind of makes her think she wasn't the perfect Mexican daughter she always portrayed that she was. And it's really cool to see Julia kind of going through her sister's life after her death and seeing, hey, she wasn't perfect, I don't have to be also. And the main character in this book, Julia, she's so freaking hilarious. I love when main characters can make me laugh, and this girl is so funny. The next book I want to talk about is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one everyone loves, I know it. I thought it was going to be an overhyped TikTok book when I read it, to be fair, but Taylor Jenkins Reid writing style, it's beautiful. It's literally like, I'm getting chills talking about it, but the way she writes it is as if you're living within the story. It follows a family, the Rivas, and it goes back and forth between Mick Riva and his wife back in like the 50s, falling in love. He's a rock star, he starts becoming famous, and then they have children, and it kind of jumps between the 50s when Mick and his wife are like younger and when the children are just born, and then into the 80s where the children are grown up and they're dealing with their own issues. The story of the Riva siblings, everyone is going through their own thing. It kind of jumps between the different stories of what everyone's dealing with. Why is there a weird, like, I'm sorry for the lighting, there's this weird line on my face. Hold up one sec. Hopefully if we stay here, we're fine. The next book I want to talk about is fairly new, and it's been declared a TikTok sensation, which is kind of cringy, but The Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood. Let me just tell you, this book hits. I read it so freaking quick. This man, Adam, 10 out of 10 book boyfriend. This girl, Olive, 10 out of 10 book girl. Basically, if you don't know what this book is about, which I'm pretty sure everyone does, it's about Olive, and she's a PhD candidate working on her study. She lies to her best friend about having a boyfriend because her best friend is currently dating like her ex, which she's fine with, but her best friend doesn't believe her. So she needs to convince her best friend like, hey, I've moved on, I'm dating this guy now. And so when she sees her best friend one day when she's supposed to be on a fake date, she kisses this guy, which is the most hated professor because he's literally so annoying and rude. That kind of starts a whole thing. They start fake dating because it benefits both of them, which you'll kind of understand when you read the book. It's not like super spicy, but it's just like the tension, the tropes of grumpy sunshine, the trope of I hate everyone but you. I need her to write more. I need her to write more because I love it. I love it so much. The next book on my standalones is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. This one, I know some people hate it. I freaking love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It made me bawl like a freaking baby. It is a childhood friends to lovers romance, second chance romance about these two individuals, Poppy and Rune, and they grow up together as best friends. And then something happens where Rune moves away and they can't be together anymore. And then something happens to Poppy where she suddenly goes AWOL and Rune's like, where did she go? But he lives across the world now, so he can't even see why she's gone AWOL. And then he returns and finds out. I freaking bawled. This book, I freaking bawled. It is a little bit cheesy. Just if you can't handle cheese, don't read this book. But if you are a sucker for cheesy, then this is the book for you. Okay, I'm gonna talk about two books that I currently don't own, sadly. The first one is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is probably the book I think about most often. It involves two main characters who both love reading, the boy and the girl, childhood friends to lovers. If you can't tell, that's my favorite trope. So the two main characters are Elliot and Macy, and they meet when they're children because Elliot lives kind of at like a vacation house year-round, whereas Macy just comes with her dad every so often. And every time they're there, they read together in Macy's little library room, and they share books, and they have this cute little thing where they share each other's favorite words at the current moment, and it's just adorable. It jumps ahead of time where Macy's basically engaged to this one guy who, he's okay, but she doesn't really love him. Then she runs into Elliot for the first time in like years, almost like a decade. Upon seeing Macy again, man literally breaks up with his girlfriend and was like, okay, let's do this. Like, he has been holding a torch for her for so freaking long, and I'm a sucker for that trope. It is. But Macy doesn't know what she wants to do, if she wants to be with Elliot, because they had this falling out, this big thing happened that they kind of talk about, but they don't exactly explain till towards the end of the book as to why they haven't talked in a decade. But it gives the best vibes. Like, this book gives the best vibes. It has the best vibes. It is so sweet. Now we're gonna move on to my 5-star books that happen to be by Colleen Hoover because she is a queen. So the first one I'm gonna talk about I don't own also. I think I listened to the audiobook for this one, but it's All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. It holds a special place in my heart because I don't actually read this many books about like the struggle of marriage, and their names are Quinn and Graham. And they meet in the most unlikely of circumstances. Basically, their current partner, like both of their current partners, are cheating on them with each other. And they end up literally just like eating Chinese food outside of the apartment building where their partners are doing it. And then they end up meeting again a couple months later and going out and basically fall in love, whatever. But this book jumps back and forth between them falling in love and their current marriage situation where Quinn is unable to conceive, and that's kind of putting a strain on their marriage, and their marriage is basically falling apart. And it's so sad because you can see them falling in love and seeing how perfect they are for each other, and then you can see the other like present day aspect where they're basically falling out of love. The ending, the letters, no, just read this book, just read it. The next 5-star Colleen Hoover book I want to talk about is my favorite Colleen Hoover book, Verity. I read this before people started reading it a lot on TikTok. I read it, this was actually my first Colleen Hoover book I've ever read, and I thought she was a novelist, and so I expected this to be a cheesy romance. how did I expect this to be a cheesy romance? Did I not look at the cover? Am I stupid? But anyway, I picked this book up thinking it was going to be a silly like rom-com, whatever. I did not know Colleen Hoover wrote thrillers, okay? This book follows a girl named Lowen, and she is going to be kind of a ghostwriter for this girl named Verity, who got in a car accident and can't finish the series that she's working on because she's a novelist. So she goes to Verity's home and tries to collect data on where her series is going, kind of rummages through her stuff and everything. Verity is also married to this guy named Jeremy, and they have a kid. Both their daughters passed away within the last couple months, separate occurrences, which is kind of sketch. While she's going through Verity's stuff, she finds this manuscript. It is disturbing, wildly disturbing. She talks about her daughter's deaths that may or may not have been an accident. All the meanwhile, Verity still lives in the house, but she's kind of paralyzed where she just lays in bed and is unresponsive. Or is she? Anyway, this book, freaking creepy. Lowen also starts to have a relationship with Jeremy while Verity's still in the house. This book is a really easy read too. It's only like 200 something pages. You can read this in one sitting. I know I did. Verity, pick it up. Pick it up. It will mess with your head. It will mess with your head. I feel really basic saying this book is a 5-star, but I literally think about the 2 days that I spent reading this book and I just get the best vibes. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. You all know, as explained before, I'm a sucker for childhood friends to lovers. If you have any childhood friends to lovers recommendations, please give them to me because I will literally rate it 5 stars on the spot. But this book is about a girl named Lily Bloom, and she owns a flower shop. Cute, right? She meets this guy named Ryle, and they kind of start a thing, whatever. But then one day when she's out with Ryle, out for dinner, she is at a restaurant where the cook is Atlas, somebody she knew from her past, who she may or may not have had a thing with, and may or may not have ended in a certain sticky situation. But this book kind of goes back and forth. I love past and present point of views, so there's a common theme with my favorite books, and it kind of goes back and forth between when she was a teenager and she met Atlas versus now with Ryle, and it's a heartbreaking book. I cried like a baby at the end. This book, it's hype for a reason, okay? Let me just say, people hype it up for a reason. If you want to get into reading and you don't know what to read first, this is always one I recommend because it's such an easy read and it has all my favorite tropes, so just read it. Now I'm going to be talking about a bunch of books that are part of a companion series that you will catch me raving about for forever. And I feel like these are so underrated and I don't know why. Abby Jimenez holds a special place in my heart, okay? Her books just bring me joy. So the first book in the series is The Friend Zone. Let me just read this synopsis. Kristen Peterson doesn't do drama, will fight to death for her friends, and has no room in her life for guys who just don't get her. She's also keeping a big secret, facing a medically necessary procedure that will make it impossible for her to have children. Planning her best friend's wedding is bittersweet for Kristen, especially when she meets this best man, Josh Copeland. This book I expected to be like a cheesy, like cutesy book, which it is kind of for the first like 200 pages, whatever. The ending will mess with you. The ending was unexpected. I was like, that did not just happen in a cheesy romance novel. This book has sustenance to it. Let me just say, it has sustenance to it, and I typically don't like the miscommunication trope, but Abby Jimenez does it so well that this book was just beyond 5 stars for me. The next book in the series is The Happily Ever After Playlist, which it's probably my least favorite in the series, but it's still really good. Well, I don't know if I can explain this book without spoiling the end of the first book, but basically this book follows Sloane Monroe, which is Kirsten's best friend in the first book, the one that was getting married. I'm not even going to explain it because I want you to read The Friend Zone before you read this. So don't even read the synopsis of this one until you read The Friend Zone. Okay? Okay. The third book I actually have coming in the mail because I've already read it on my Kindle, but I don't have it right now. And it's called Life's Too Short, and it basically follows the cousin of Josh Copeland. So the guy from the first book, his cousin, who's a lawyer. Anyway, he lives next door in an apartment to this girl who's like a travel vlogger. Anyway, she's not traveling anymore because her sister is in rehab and she has to take care of her baby. She's also struggling with a medical thing, which is explained in the book. I don't want to spoil it too much because I just want you to read this series, so maybe you should just take my word for it and read it. Basically, the next door neighbor starts taking care of the baby with her and they kind of start having a thing. I don't really know how to explain any of this series without giving spoilers. I just love this series. I love her writing style. It's so easy to read, so humorous. I love humor in books. Please read her books. Please, please, please read her books. The final 3 books is another companion novel series that probably is my favorite series in the whole world. My girl Helen Huang. So first of all, if you haven't read The Kiss Quotient, why not? It is a fake dating trope, okay? So this is about a girl named Stella Lane, and she has Asperger's. So she hasn't really pursued many romantic relationships because of this, and her parents are starting to get worried because she's 30 years old and doesn't pursue any romantic relationships. So Stella decides to go and hire an escort to teach her how to do stuff. Anyway, right off the bat, spicy. The spice I don't think really makes the book. The backstories of both characters do. I like this book because I love Stella and I love Michael. Michael, book boyfriend number 1. I can't date Michael because of how in love he is with Stella, so I'm leaving him alone. So anyway, Stella hires this guy named Michael, who is the escort, to teach her things. However, it ends up being that they decide to fake date for their family because then Stella can show her mom, hey, I'm dating a guy, like, don't worry about it, I'm not weird, like, I'm actually dating. The spice, the tension, the humor, it's all there. Please read it. Please read The Kiss Quotient. It's genuinely, like, book number 1 for me. Like, favorite book in the whole world, I think. Favorite book in the whole world. I'd easily give it that title. The second book in the companion series is The Bride Test. And if you haven't watched my 48-hour readathon vlog, I read this in that. And I literally cried reading this. It's not even a sad book. I just cried reading this because it's so cute. Anyway, this book follows Kai, who is Michael's cousin from The Kiss Quotient. So Kai also has Asperger's, and just like Stella did from The Kiss Quotient. And he believes he's unable to love, so he kind of keeps to himself, the same way Stella did in The Kiss Quotient. However, his mom does not like this, and his mom literally goes to Vietnam and finds him a bride and brings her back and says, here you go, this girl Esme, this is your bride. And Esme barely speaks English. She doesn't know how to feel about the situation. And his mom gives him a date and says, you're gonna like date her until this date. If you don't wanna marry her, she'll get sent back. If you marry her by this day, she can stay. This book made me laugh so hard though. I think it's even funnier than The Kiss Quotient. This is definitely the funniest novel in the companion series. I freaking love Esme. She's my favorite character. I love her. The very last novel I would like to talk about is the third book. It kind of just came out within the last 2 months, and it's The Heart Principle. This book is the third book in the series. It follows Quan, who is Kai's brother and Michael's cousin. So he has been fighting cancer, Quan. So he hasn't really been with girls in a while. That's where Anna comes in. So Anna's boyfriend tells her he wants to be in an open relationship. Just before they get engaged, he wants to experience other girls to see if he's making the right decision by marrying Anna. I would just break up with him on the spot. I don't know why she stayed with him, but whatever. She goes on to a dating website and meets Quan and says, hey, I'm looking for a hookup. Like, come hook up with me. And he's like, cool, I haven't hooked up with someone in so long, maybe that's what I need to. So they agree to hook up, and it does not go well. She gets too scared, he doesn't really want to hook up, and it kind of doesn't work out. However, they try to hook up so many times that they end up just like watching TV together or hanging out instead, and it turns into this whole sort of like relationship thing. Well, Anna is struggling with her violinist career. She was kind of a viral sensation on YouTube once, and she's trying to live up to that, but she can't play the violin, and she's trying to figure out like what's going on. So her therapist diagnoses her with autism, and nobody in her family believes that she has autism. Everyone's saying that she's just making up excuses, and Anna's going through this hard time where, if you remember, Quan, he literally has a brother who has Asperger's, so he is the only one that kind of accepts her and kind of accepts her diagnosis. This book is not a rom-com, kind of like the other two. This one's more serious romance, serious everything. It is funny in some parts, but it's more serious. And if you read the author's note, Helen Hong also is on the autism spectrum, and so that's why all her books involve autism. And if you read her author's notes, it makes so much sense to everything that happened in the book, and she said this is the most near and dear to her heart, and I can definitely tell while reading this. These are the best books in the entire world. The best books in the entire world. And the characters all have such strong personalities, which I love. I guarantee you're gonna fall in love with these characters. My camera battery's flashing, so thankfully that is all I have for today. Those are my 5-star book recommendations. If you want, follow me for more. I'm going to be posting weekly book content. Check out my TikTok, follow me on Instagram, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more book related content. Thank you for watching. Bye.